So we kind of talked a little bit about leads. I see on that one in cold calling, but I'd say, should we just like talk about the most common other strategies, like just wholesaling?
Well, I mean, one, it's the education of this. While this isn't exactly like when the bubble burst, it definitely is starting to resemble it in different ways. And so buyers agents need to get more creative with the way they try to entice and stay in this market, and stay a realtor basically. So you're not opting out for that real job. So what are you going to do? Then go to your networking event, be a fly on the wall, introduce yourself, and be willing to do that. Because if you're not willing to start changing things, the way that you've been doing it is not going to work. Not at least for this next season, And so what is that? That's educating yourself on the different strategies, working with wholesalers, knowing for sure, I think we've gotten over the hump that it's not illegal.
It's legal.
It's just one of those things that, like, I feel like that's one of the things that we need to talk about, going to the networking events and partnering with investors. Because I've got investors that I've had since the very beginning of time, like since 2008 that I still use.
Right.
Or they still use me, I should say.
Yeah.
I've been listing homes with them forever, or I find something, or I shoot something their way, because I did that in 2008.
Yeah. So I was curious this morning, and I was talking to you a little bit about it, about how I wonder what percentage of sales are actually off market. And I did a little research, and it was National Association of Realtors says 10 to 11%, which seems really low to me. But then I realized that they're really only looking at the statistic of off market when a realtor is involved. That means that the realtor has a listing agreement with the seller, and they do a pocket listing. And a lot of high-end brokerages do this, luxury. It's a whole different world out there. It's very exclusive. It's like invite appointment only type things. And what they call
it's a for sale by owner, and
Right.
you've got the buyer agent involved.
Right. So it can go both ways.
Yep.
And so I think that I think that's kind of what that percentage is more involved in. But what about the world where you don't have a realtor involved and it's really direct with the buyer and a seller? I think that's a completely different statistic. And the reason I was looking for it was because I was curious to show that opportunity, like of the 9+ billion, trillion, whatever the market is worth.
Yeah.
How much business are you actually losing out on by not understanding what's happening when you're not involved, and how can you get involved? So kind of in our previous episode about cold calling, we were talking about investors cold calling realtors and the opportunity there. I know a lot of realtors are turned off to this. I'm turned off to it only because I don't work with a lot of buyers, and it's a capacity thing, and it's the way they approach me. However, if you are new in real estate or seasoned and you're looking to get more buying representation, investors are a huge untapped potential. Talk about not having time. They have even less, which means they're reaching out to advertise to people who might have access to distressed properties, come across them where you're like, I don't know what to do with this. I can't list it. Maybe it doesn't fall in your wheelhouse, or maybe you only know to tell a seller, oh, you have to paint and do these things. And then a seller is going to drop you and try and sell it themselves because they don't have the money or the time to do that. Investors are buyers. They're a whole pool of buyers.
Like I said, I've got investor clients that I've had since 2008. And I mean, I love them. I know I can count on at least 5 sales from them a year. They're repeat customers. Yes. Do I give them a discount? Absolutely. Because they're repeat. They're going to buy more homes than a single family homeowner.
And you can capture them on both sides.
Yeah.
You can help them buy the house, then list the house. It's double dipping, and it's a huge opportunity. But in order to work with them, you definitely need to educate yourselves on the creative strategies to buy and sell that they advertise in. And keep in mind that even if it's a wholesaler, and for the sake of you who don't know what that is as a realtor, a wholesaler is somebody who gets a property under contract and assigns their rights in that contract to a different end buyer, where they basically just get paid a fee for finding a buyer. They're not a realtor, they're not representing anybody. It's just that they're finding someone else who might want to fix and flip it, or who might have the cash to buy and hold, and they just have that relationship with this pool of buyers. So a lot of investors put a lot of time and money They're probably better at marketing than most realtors, where they build these lists that realtors don't have access to. So if you are ever looking to sell something that's not a pristine house on the market that your average buyer wants, these are the types of people you need to get involved in, because investors buy and sell in any market. No matter if it's up or down, they're going to be buying.
And usually when it's down is when they're buying more.
Exactly.
Because, I mean, that's when you're getting the better deals, right? The market we just saw, anybody could call themselves an investor because it was on a constant rise, and it just ate up. If you made a mistake, that's okay. The market was going to be able to absorb that for you. Whereas now, you actually do need to know what the heck you're doing. So going to those networking events, maybe taking a class on seller financing, maybe taking a class on some of these other investment strategies, wraps and sub-twos, so that you understand, you at least understand what they're talking about, so that you can identify a property that matches their exit strategy.
And something that is always so funny to me, I do this a lot. I look up the licensees of the people I'm working with.
Yeah.
Because I want to know what their background is. How long have you been? What is your educational? Because every 2 years we have to do continuing education credit, and I don't think people know how many useful education classes are out there. Like if you were to look up my license, you'll see like foreclosures, you'll see creative financing, you'll see all sorts of things that are really investment, commercial investment. You can take these. So don't sleep on these continuing education classes where you can learn about this and get credits for your license.
Absolutely.
But I think you're going to learn the most by going to the investor meetups and networking events and listening to how they speak, what they want, what they're looking for.
Well, it's a whole different language. And then
It
it's
is.
dual purpose, because not only are you going there and you're learning about these strategies and who are the main players in your area, in it, like here in this Metroplex, you find out pretty quickly who speaks a lot, who's going to these, who shows up, and who to network with. And then there's always somebody that you can pick up while you're learning, and partner with. It's a fantastic tool. And here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, I found that we are very giving. We are very, with our information, especially in most of the groups that I've found, we share a lot of information. It's just more of a community than what you find in a lot of other metropolitan areas.
Yeah.
Even here in Texas, I feel like we've got something
Dallas
pretty
is known
special.
for having a more abundant mentality and partnering, because it's a huge metro and there's so much opportunity here.
Yep.
But I think that if you really want to tap, I always laugh when people are like, how do you guys do this? It's like, you just got to expand. You got to think bigger. You got to get involved. Real estate, I always think about it this way. Real estate, are you in real estate? Are you a service? Like, there's services in real estate. Then there's also the licensing aspects of buying and selling. I mean, there's so many different ways you can get involved in it. And so being able to network with all of the different parties are what going to make you an unstoppable force. And you can learn pretty quickly. I also highly suggest you invest in some things yourselves. I always think it's crazy how many realtors don't do investment. You have more access to properties and people and resources than anyone else. And I think that's a huge difference between the realtor investor community is I think investors are really scrappy. They're really good at like figuring out marketing and getting creative, and they're kind of trailblazers. And then you've got realtors who, we go through the licensing, and I think we're kind of conditioned to look at things a certain way.
Yeah, well, and that is definitely the more traditional route. I think both of us have been, I know I was exposed to that. I know you've been exposed. And then we switched, and I was like, I've just found the investment side of things so much more interesting.
Right.
And as I say, to every time I'm doing an onboarding call or recruiting an agent or something like that, part of that spiel is, are you investing? Because if you're not, why not? Yeah. Because that is your retirement plan. It is not chasing commissions until you're 80. That is not a retirement plan. That is a job.
With a photo from when you were in your 20s. That's always the joke.
Yeah. And with a little
You know,
fuzzy
another
photo.
thing I've really noticed about the market, you know, owning a transaction company that works with over 1,000 contracts a year nationwide, we have a mix of realtors and investors. In the last year and a half to 2 years, I've seen a huge increase in investors seeking partnership with realtors.
Yep.
I think when I first started back in 2017, it was very divided. So there was a huge divide between the investors and the realtors. Now, almost all of the clients I vet, when I ask them their strategies in the markets, they ask me for realtor referrals. This is huge, especially in the novation strategy. And if you haven't heard about that, we'll probably get into that in a different episode.
Yeah,
but
that's more its own thing.
it's a lot more advanced, but you would have to work with the realtor to market it, and basically market an already contracted property. We'll go into that, but they need the realtors and they need that partnership, and they need the realtors to flip it if they want to expose it to the largest amount of buyers. So I know that request is coming in a lot more often, and there's also some super creative investors right now that are offering lead programs to realtors.
I've seen
much
that.
like Zillow and whatnot.
Yep.
And
because they don't qualify for something that they want, but they still need, these sellers still need to sell their homes.
so not only do you have a vetted warm lead from an investor who has already confirmed that they can't sell it off market, they need a realtor, maybe the house is in good enough condition or that's what they want, a certain amount, and they know the market
Warm
will give
leads,
it.
you do still have to call, just FYI.
You mean they don't just fall from the sky? I've gone on a few recently. I've been expanding to working with some investors who give me those leads. They don't like their offer, and you can't pay commissions to these people at all, which is why they're transferring them into lead programs. So you can buy these leads, and they can guarantee them because they've already vetted them so heavily. And one thing investors, a majority of them, are pretty good at, it's qualifying the seller and their property, and does it meet their criteria for what they want to do? If not, then if they have a good realtor partner, they'll refer it over to you, and another lead source that is far more personal, direct, and vetted than probably most of these larger box lead sources. So don't sleep on it. And I've got a few that are looking for some realtor partners too, that are looking for that kind of thing. So definitely, you have to know your stuff too.
You've got to know your stuff. That's the thing. What it goes back to is, they want a realtor partner, but they want a realtor partner who knows what they're doing when it comes to, one, capturing that lead, because they want to be able to continue to sell them to you, because it helps them with their marketing campaign and for them to continue to market. But it's knowing how to work with investors, and it's knowing their language. Like I said before, it's a whole nother language, it's a whole nother skill set, and why wouldn't you want to learn it? Because it's only going to behoove you in your investments in the future, and you need to be making investments in the future.
It's just like getting to know your client, just like you would a seller
Oh,
or a
absolutely.
buyer. I don't think it's any different, and we need to break that barrier of people being like scoffing at it.
Well, it legitimizes the investor.
Yeah.
You know, I think it gives them more clout, because I know that's kind of how Daniel and I got started, is if I bring you along, then people trust me immediately more, because you've got a license to lose. You've got a license on the line.
That is true. I have to say, when I first got started, I was licensed as an investor, and a lot of people are scared to do that. I've never been scared because I had proper teaching from my brokerages on how to put your best foot forward, how to disclose, and I've never had a problem. And what I did find is that I gained the trust of a lot of sellers over other investors just because I was licensed.
Yeah.
And so a lot of them said they would work with me. I said, listen, you know my license, you can report me if I'm unethical, but I'm not representing you. I am, I'm not representing you, but I am going to disclose that I'm licensed. So you really can. It's, again, just another tool in your tool belt, which we're really big here on Maverick Minded Realtors.
Yes.
Is to teach you all the different ways that you can expand that and just be of more value. I think we often forget that you're providing a value, and you have to know what that is and articulate what that is, because knowing investor language and strategies is only one piece. Knowing how to communicate with all the parties in that world is another piece. So be like what to say and not say, and being able to explain the complications, because one thing we haven't touched on is that a lot of these investors do deal with more problems than we do as realtors. And by problems, I mean more like title issues or property issues that I don't think normal realtors get involved in.
It's just like title in general.
Right.
Like there's big box title, like Chicago title, those Old Republic. They do really typically pretty smooth transactions, cookie cutter, everyone's the same. If you have a title company that is an investor title company, well, they know that there's going to be a lot of nuances. There's a reason why that house is having difficulty selling. There's a reason why they want to sell it to the investor. So you've got to know that there are going to be complications and it's not going to be a cakewalk.
And a quick story, like my second rental I ever bought was from a realtor cold calling me because I had sold a property in the area to an investor. So it was a particular price that kind of alerted her. And she called me and said, I just realtor to realtor would like to know what the price was, what was it like, because I have this house, it's an inherited property. And she was like, for lack of better terms, it's a shit show. And I immediately perked up and was like, can I go see it?
You're speaking my language.
I was like, does it smell too? Anyway, I asked her, I said, hey, would you mind if I went and go see it? I said, I actually might be interested to buy. And she was shocked. She was like, what? Really? She was shocked. And she's like, I really don't want to deal with it because it's so bad. And the people don't live here and we just finished probate. And so I went, the house, it's a complete gut job. I'm just finishing it now, almost 2 years later. But it was a complete gut job conversion. I walked out and I said, I'll buy it. And she was like, for what? And I was like, 160. And she goes, okay. And she immediately called them and said, hey, you don't have to deal with it being on the market. You don't have to deal with anything. She's going to take it. And I even said, I don't want any commissions. So if you can take them. And she was like, awesome. And she helped me get that deal done. So to her, she didn't know what to do with the property. She didn't know how to price it. It was out of her wheelhouse. Realtor, investor, I had a skill set, and then I got a rental, and it made. But I also solved their problem, right?
And made her look like a rock star.
And it made her look like a rock star. Hey, I got this sold without having to do it. Now people will be like, put it on the market, you'll get more. But shh, no, you don't. Anyway, it really was a gut job, and we ended up adding a half bath and converting the garage anyway to make it rent. So. It was a huge project, but it was worth it. So just one example of how you can be the go-to realtor for other realtors as well if you have this information in your wheelhouse.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We'll talk about the seller financing on another episode as well.
Definitely.
Because that's a realtor to realtor job too. That can benefit both sides, seller and buyer.
Yeah, I think that'll be a good one. I think that's a good strategy as well with the interest rates, learning the seller finance. So tips you can do realistically right now are go look through different continuing education platforms. And look for investment. Some of them just have it, investing 101. Some of them talk about wholesaling, creative financing, all the different things. So
look for all your networking events that are investor related. Go network. Like get off the wall and actually talk to people, get to know the people that are there and listen to the speakers. And
find and connect with other realtors that are investing in your brokerage and in your immediate circle.
Exactly.
All right.
And good luck. Let us know if you have any questions and drop your comments below. Like and follow and share anything you'd like to hear about, you'd like us to talk on, because we have a plethora of topics we'd like to hit. But we also want to answer your questions and any interest you might have.
See you next time.
Bye.